So every year, we hear about the national budget, right? And honestly, it's easy for your eyes to just glaze over with all the numbers and the jargon. But what if we thought about it differently? Instead of a boring accounting sheet, think of it as a blueprint, a detailed plan for actually building a country's future. And that's exactly what we're going to do today with India's budget for 2025-26.
I mean, just let that sink in for a moment. How do you even begin to plan the future for 1.4 times billion people? The scale is just mind-boggling. You're talking about coordinating the money, the dreams, and the basic needs of the biggest population on the planet. It's got to be one of the most complex jobs in the world. So, yeah, where do you even start?
Well, it all starts with that blueprint. And that's what we're here to do. We're going to break it down, peel back the layers of this, let's be honest, kind of intimidating financial document and find the real strategy, the big vision that's driving all those numbers.
Okay, so here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll cover some basics. Then, we'll look at the main goal, this idea of Viksit Bharat. We'll dive into the 6 key pillars of their strategy, put a spotlight on some major sectors, and finally, tie it all together to see what it means for the future. Sound good? Let's go.
All right, Section 1, the basics. Before you can read any blueprint, you've got to understand the symbols, right? What does this line mean? What does that icon represent? It's the exact same thing with a national budget. So let's get a handle on a few key terms.
So, we all call it the budget, but its fancy official name is the annual financial statement. And really, it's the master document. It's the big sheet that lays out all the money the government expects to come in and all the money it plans to spend. Simple as that. This is the foundation for absolutely everything else.
And that brings up a really important point. This is all about forecasting. The numbers you see aren't set in stone. They're called budget estimates, or BE for short. Think of it like your own budget. It's the government's best guess, its prediction of what it'll earn and what it'll need to spend. And these estimates, these educated guesses, are what shape the entire country's priorities for the year.
Okay, now this next one is a huge deal. CapEx. That's short for capital expenditure. Now, this isn't the money for paying salaries or keeping the lights on. Nope. This is the investment budget. We're talking about the big stuff. New highways, massive ports, modern railway lines, cutting-edge technology. This is the spending that literally builds the future. And that's exactly why economists and investors watch this number like a hawk.
Okay, so now that we've got the lingo down, we can get to the really interesting part. What is this whole blueprint for? What's it trying to build? Because a national budget, it's never just about balancing the books. There's always a bigger vision, a grander goal behind it all.
And boom, this quote lays it out perfectly. The whole point, the guiding star for this budget, is achieving the goal of Viksit Bharat. That translates to developed India. So the idea is that every single rupee spent, every policy decision made, is supposed to be one more step towards that huge, long-term national ambition.
So, a vision is one thing, right? Developed India sounds great. But how do you actually get there? You need a real strategy. And the budget summary gives us just that. It's all built on what they're calling transformative reforms.
And the core of that strategy boils down to a single number: 6. The entire strategy rests on 6 key areas. The government has basically identified these 6 domains as the main levers they can pull to really push for that national transformation.
And here they are: taxation, the power sector, urban development, mining, the financial sector, and regulatory reforms. Now, this isn't just some random wish list. It actually gives us a really clear snapshot of the government's top priorities. And you can see it's a pretty broad mix, right? They're targeting these foundational areas. So for instance, reforming power and mining, that's all about making sure you have the energy and raw materials for growth. And then you have financial and regulatory reforms, which are about making it way easier to do business. These 6 things, these are the pillars that the whole Viksit Bharat vision is supposed to be built on.
So, those 6 pillars are the strategy, the how. Now let's talk about the what. Where does the money actually go? The blueprint puts that strategy into action by funding key sectors of the economy. Let's zoom in on a few of the big ones.
First up, no surprise here, agriculture. I mean, with a huge chunk of the population relying on farming, supporting them and boosting the rural economy is pretty much always a central focus. The whole idea here is to create growth from the ground up, better food security and more money in the pockets of rural families.
Next up, defense. You can't have a strong economy without a secure nation, right? So a big part of this economic blueprint is naturally national security. A lot of funds are earmarked for modernizing the armed forces, which has a double benefit. It keeps the country safe and also helps build up a homegrown defense industry. And of course, infrastructure. Remember we talked about CapEx? Well, this is it. This is where that investment money becomes real. It's the tangible stuff you can see and touch, the roads, the ports, the digital networks, all the things that form the physical backbone of a modern, developed economy.
Okay, let's step back and pull this all together. We've gone through the key terms, the big picture vision, that six-pillar strategy, and where the money is focused. So, what does it all mean? What's the main takeaway here?
I think the most important thing to remember is this. This budget is being framed as way more than just a spreadsheet of numbers. It's a strategic document. It's a blueprint that's designed to draw a straight line from every single spending decision, every policy choice, all the way to that one huge long-term goal, creating a developed India.
And that really brings us to the final and maybe the most important question. Look, every great plan looks good on paper, but the real world is messy. The blueprint is drawn, the vision is clear. But turning that plan into a reality for 1.4 billion people, that's all about execution. So I'll leave you with this. What do you think is the single biggest challenge to making it all happen?